redesigned witches. Not in any monumental way, but just enough to fit the world I'm building. I have been thinking about the Bhagavan, which is how it's spelled, but it's really pronounced Bhagavan, for a long time now, maybe a couple years. In Buddhism, a Bhagavan is a fully enlightened being, and I like the pun of it juxtaposed against an insect. The character is intended to be a wise elder who guides the protagonist through various trials. I'm translating this term into witch, as it thematically aligns better with the landscape I'm developing. I also wanted to populate my fairy world with as many elders as I could think of. I've started with 3, and I assume I will continue to try until I feel fully convinced by what I have. At the time that I made this design, I was really excited by the idea of matchmaking, but overwhelmed by the potential harm I could cause either counterpart. The idea, on the other hand, was golden for storytelling. My original vision for the Bhagavan witch was that of a mantis humanoid, the body of a mantis and the face of an elderly woman. Here I went for a more human-based design, but I fully intend to explore my original vision in the future. For now, I like this design. I imagine her casting a spell over a handful of cherry blossoms and forming them into the portraits of 2 destined lovers. Then she would pack the portraits into envelopes and send them off, the protagonist being the messenger who then learns about love in the process. I knew the color season scheme I wanted to work with, a sort of soft autumn, and I knew the components I was interested in using, namely the mantis. The mantis idea arose when I saw the images of a mantis and an elderly woman side by side in the photo app of my phone. I like how I can compare images that way and make interesting connections. I didn't use either image as reference for this, and I regret not aligning more with that original inspiration. I loosely based the face off of a friend and made up the rest. While making the next 2 characters, I was thinking a lot more about the 3 fates. The 3 fates rule over birth, life, and death. In ancient Greece, they were described as 3 sisters. First was Clotho, the spinner, the sister who ushered in the birth of all beings. Then there was Lachesis, the allater, the measure of the thread of life, and the one who decided the destiny of the subject and the time permitted before death. It is also a genius of venomous pit vipers. And finally, there is Atropos, death, the immovable one. Let me look up what that one was. Atropos. The unalterable one, the inflexible. I could use these names to enrich the character development. These names are also foreboding forces in their own right and may lend themselves well to the effect of foreshadowing. For example, Clotho may introduce the protagonist to a new world of possibilities, but Atropos may endanger this new world in some way. She could also be responsible for the protagonist's death altogether. For the fortune teller, I based this design on another friend. I wanted this character to feel cozy and comforting, but also sassy and cantankerous. I feel like that sass comes across through her side glance, while her comforting quality is more explicitly expressed through her clothing and general appearance. This pearl motif arose through the adornment of her glasses. I sort of liked that she could embody the shallow pools of the rocky shoreline, and I imagine her home is full of wicker creels and wellies. And for the librarian, I was drawn to the concept of centaurs and fawns. She is the bearer of knowledge, much like Chiron of Greek mythology. I tried a few different literal interpretations and settled on a more subtle suggestion of hooves. Originally, I was hoping to design an apothecary archetype, but she evolved away from that idea into something a little bit more intellectual. I plan to develop the Bhagavan witches further in the future, but for now I'm looking forward to exploring some different types of mystical beings. That's all for today. Thank you and be well.